still don't feel like it brought in women that were enjoying this project, but I feel like they made a Marvel project for and by and about a woman, but for men. So ultimately, it's a good watch. I don't know what you guys thought about it. The ending could have been better, but I really enjoyed the experience overall.
This was the worst Marvel project I ever seen. This was absolutely terrible. It had no redeeming value whatsoever. I was displeased. The action was terrible. The acting was terrible. The code they made Daredevil a thought. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't a fan of this shit at all. This was a disgrace to Marvel.
Damn, that's pretty harsh. If I had to give it like a score, I would say maybe 60% out of 100. Smaller characters that came up, like Immortal Man, the Wrecking Crew, the Toad or whatever it was, the Frog. I know for the Wrecking Crew, they were some pretty hardcore cats. They just really fodderized a lot of characters, man. Even in this last episode, how they introduced, Scar,
Man, Marvel stooped to a new low with this, man. This was terrible, man.
Now, hold on, because I'm like, what? You remind me of the Reddit section of the world that just doesn't mesh with it, and I don't know why you don't mesh with it. What is? I'll give you this: the ending, the Kevin episode, that fourth wall nonsense, like that was a cop out to me. Whatever.
Yeah.
What was the problem, Fresh? What was the big deal?
The biggest deal was it was boring. Mm-hmm. It was poorly litigated scenarios. You have a character, the Sorcerer Supreme in Wong, one of the most powerful beings in the world, doing an American law case where he just took the ring back from my man's. It felt unnecessary. Everything about it was unnecessary. And I feel like I should have not wasted 9 episodes of my life for this shit. It was terrible.
Yeah, you know I mean, some of this stuff didn't make any sense. Like, they didn't really talk about abominations like 7 wives. They never even like really hinted at that. It was kind of weird that they leaned so heavily on like female issues, but then in the end, all she wanted was some dick. You know what I'm saying? That was her wish. She didn't want to have a big baddie for her finale. She wanted Matt back.
Shame.
I'm like, what the fuck is this show? You know what I'm saying? That last episode was just so fucking weird, man. It was just
so they think women empowerment is just searching for dick. That's basically what it was.
Dude, she for all the preaching that she did highlight some shit. But then at the last episode, for her to say, look, I don't want all this. I want Emil Blonsky to basically pay for what he did and want to. And I want Matt back. And then ask a lot of like questions that we have. And then her big bad of the series was basically trolls, like real life trolls. Like, that's who your big baddie was. Incels. Involuntarily celibate dudes you decided to make your fucking show about. I'm like, what the fuck is this, man? Dude, it was, once we got to episode 8 and there was no real looming threat, I'm like, who the fuck is the bad guy? Because I don't really feel like the stakes could have never been lower when I was watching this shit. I'm like,
facts.
I
they
think
fodderized a lot of characters. Like you were saying, Abomination should have been a threat. Was Titanic or Titania, whatever, right?
Yeah.
Should have been a threat. You know what I'm saying? Instead they doing a litigation over the She-Hulk name. That shit dumb, man.
And then look, my bad, man, to cut you off. It didn't make any fucking sense, man. You know what I'm saying? It's like you go from You know, she got her phone information stolen. She hulks out essentially, loses it, destroys a TV, grabs some random dude with a mask on, and now the cops up there already, and she locked up, and then she's a high-powered attorney. She done got fired 2 times and basically been almost on Skid Row. Like, where the fuck is all your money going? How you living with your parents a couple of weeks or whatever it was after losing your fucking job and you was a district attorney?
So that's where I'm at with the show, right? Like, I don't believe it's supposed to be your typical protagonist type of story. It's supposed to be a street level from a lawyer aspect type story, you know. So it's supposed to be campy as shit, and that's why she's allowed to bust and break down the fourth wall. I get that's a part of the appeal.
I don't know. It didn't pull off enough. It didn't pull off camp though. It didn't give me camp vibes, man.
It was bad.
It gave me camp. It gave me camp. The last episode with the Bill Bixby shit.
I was just about to ask you about that.
That was camp. That was camp as fuck. But I'm like, the overall series we haven't been getting at.
It's camp because look how they bringing in Matt Murdock to make him pretty much a whole entire man whore. But not really, like the good guy man whore. Look at her life. I mean, she's on dating apps. Everything about it was kind of cliche and campy. And that's why I'm saying it's not, I don't even feel like it was a show for women. I don't think that's, if you just took a general woman, and I don't want to assume or nothing, if you just, hey, watch this, I don't think she'd be into it at all. That was a show for men that like Marvel stuff and the few, you know, and the women that like Marvel stuff too. I definitely think it was a Marvel project tailored not for women, but just made by women, if that even makes sense. You know what I mean?
Fam, it felt like an incel made it and made incels the bad guys. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, you ordered something.
Stereotype after stereotype. Like literally, like it's supposed to be about women's empowerment. It was supposed to be about, you know what I'm saying, she's a strong woman character. I felt none of that. I felt sorry for her. It was terrible CGI. It was bad acting. You know what I mean? It felt like it had no direction whatsoever, fam.
Because she didn't even grow as a person in the end. You know what I'm saying? She didn't have no more confidence in herself at the end. I'm like, man, they needed like 3 or 4 more episodes of this, man. This shit, she just likes being fucking a superhero now, supposedly. She's accepting it. But
I was just thinking that too, because it's like the secondary struggle was Jen versus She-Hulk and embracing her She-Hulk, but I don't think Jen ever actually won. I think Jen just kind of threw herself away.
And Jen don't even like herself. That's what's so fucking crazy. She don't even fucking like herself. She got no confidence in herself at all.
When female characters are written in that way, and I won't lie, I never read like a lot of She-Hulk stuff. But I feel like she's a much more empowered character in the comic book than what we got, versus what the show brought us. But again, as an entertainment product, I did enjoy it. I mean, it was the fourth wall stuff. When it's done right, it works right. And
I don't think a feminist would really like. I don't think feminists should really like how she was highlighted. I mean, it wasn't very strong, like you said.
No, I don't. Yeah, I don't think so either. I mean, she was struggling with that stuff, you know what I mean? But ultimately, I felt like Fresh said, an incel at the end of the day was the dude who wrote her story. And it's like, well, we know how that ends. She's chasing a man the whole time,
and it was like the war of the incels. That's all it was. Like World War Hulk, it was a war on incels. That's what it all boiled down to.
I think that's why they kind of just was like, you know what, we just gonna, I don't know if we're gonna retcon the last episode or whatever, but we just gonna just redo it.
I just feel like they didn't know what the fuck they was gonna do. They felt like whatever they put out wasn't gonna meet expectations. Typically in the series, like even with like the Netflix shit, they immediately tell you like what the threat is, and then the threat just gets progressively more dangerous as the episodes go on. Once we got to like episode 4, I started getting worried. Like, damn, okay, it's some bright spots, you know. This episodes is not long enough, so it's basically going off right after you turn it on, and nothing's happening outside of her going to a wedding or something.
Yeah, I won't lie. This episode was some of the worst worst television I've seen in years.
But this wasn't for you. This was for bridesmaids. This was for women right here.
Was it for
No,
women? That's what I'm
I'm about to
saying.
say it's a poor
I don't know
depiction of what's
women
for
either.
women.
I,
Yeah,
I, these are women who wrote this, though.
they
That's what I'm
wrote it
saying.
for
Like
me.
they I don't like. That's what I was saying. Like they literally was writing from a stereotypical point of view of what a woman is. You know what I'm saying? Like,
That's fucked up.
and it's weird. You know what I'm saying? Like this was a weird ass show. Like literally, I thought you couldn't stoop lower than Moon Knight, or you know what I'm saying, these other terrible shows, or Iron Man 3. But this took the cake. This is
Wow.
awful, man.
Wow.
This is like worse than, was that Dark World?
That's a hot
Thor
take.
Dark World?
I was just about to say
Like,
I gotta stop and ask the internet if is it as bad as what Fresh is saying, because suddenly I
I
have
don't know, bro.
to say, hey, comment, like, subscribe, and join in on the discussion here, because I think Fresh is completely out of line. Now, don't get me wrong, this episode is complete trash and just nonsensical, but
Yeah.
that was the whole damn series, man.
Yeah. I mean, she knocked her teeth out, and then it just got silly as fuck. I'm like, man, what am I watching, man?
Yo, even my kids was like, yo, man, this is bad. Like, and this is a 9 and an 8-year-old saying this is bad.
that's happening. It's not good.
Oh,
Good. Do you foresee a season? So here's my thing. Big picture wise, where does she even? I get from a ground level. I'm not even gonna lie. Just structurally speaking, her character exists. She's way bigger than street level problems. So I think if she's even thrown into the bigger MCU projects, they're gonna throw her into some real life battle shit. They're not gonna have her out here grappling with Matt Murdock type guys, right? If she
Hopefully
even
not.
makes bigger Marvel.
yeah, she is absolute. They would have to introduce some kind of an element to be able to take her down for her to continue to be a street level.
She can't be street level, because that fight against Daredevil showed exactly why she can't be street level. She picked up a car, and then she destroyed all these cars with the hand clap that Bruce do. You know what I'm saying? Ain't no way she could be street level, man. Like this, they trying to fit, what's that, a round peg in a square hole type thing? Like, yo, she should be fighting big baddies, and then to bring Bruce back in to show his son. Like, I'm like, yo, man, y'all doing way too fucking much in this series, man, for nothing.
But what they're doing is just phasing those older characters out to phase their kids in. So you might not be getting much Mark Ruffalo. You know what I'm saying? In the next couple of years, he's gone. Scar's the guy that's replacing him as the Hulk. But it looks like they combined Scar and Hulkling together. I mean, they always doing shit like that. That's why it pisses me off when people say that they are comics accurate. So they basically took Scar and Hulkling. And for, those who read the comics, the Hulkling is like a half Kree, half was the Skrull. And he's basically on Earth as a refugee. And then you got Scar, who is actually the Hulk's, biological son. So, but it's looking like they're combining these two characters, and they're trying to introduce the Young Avengers, which are going to replace the old Avengers, probably in one of these Avengers movies.
I'm just saying, like, to show the character Scar to pop up out of nowhere. Like, we all know where he comes from, the story in the comics, which is some of the best comic storytelling ever in the history of comics. And they just swept it under the rug, you know what I'm saying? They showed a little blurred, a Ragnarok, and just kept it moving, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know, man. Like, I've been caping for Marvel for a while, but this direction, man, this starting to hurt my heart, man.
And it's so sickening to, like sometimes, because the original story and how good it was, and to hear how hard people cape for it, you're like, okay, it's entertaining, it's funny as always, but it's like a deeper story behind these characters other than him being angry and tearing up a bunch of shit. There's a lot of stories that go into his mind and talk about the internal struggles. And then when we got into War Hulk, and once he got back to Earth and his son Scar comes to him, he has to confront the emotions he had growing up with an abusive father, and he was starting to pass some of that shit down to his son, and he decided to break that. So it's always a larger story than what they are putting out there, and that's what's infuriating. And they clown you in the comments and say, "Oh, well, the MCU is just going in a different direction," and you trying to tell them like this story is 10 times this. It's like super watered down Kool-Aid with no sugar in it.
Facts. No depth whatsoever.
But I ain't gonna lie, I kind of feared this would happen the moment Ragnarok pretty much took Planet Hulk and just shitted on it. You know what I mean? Planet Hulk is an outstanding story. Planet Hulk leading into World War Hulk. And when Thor Ragnarok did what it did, I kind of figured this is the kind of avenue we were headed down. So my thing is, even after the She-Hulk, and even now with the Hulk family, Scar being around, Bruce is back, Jessica's here. Where does these characters even go?